beautiful Canada Day in Greeley, Ontario. And I am joined by Conservative finance critic, longtime member of Parliament, Pierre Poilievre. Pierre, welcome to the show.
Good to be with you, Chris.
Well, I thank you very much. I'm really glad to have you on here, and I got to tell you, I'm gonna gush because I'm a fan, and I'll tell you why. Because when you were a young politician, and you were always very well dressed, you always, wearing a suit, stuff like that, you proved to me that you had what it took, and I'm going to tell you the story. So Main Street in Manotick, at the pub, what used to be called the pub, it's called the Black Dog or whatever.
Yep.
And so everyone's out on the patio, and some friends of ours go there, and they've been around for half an hour, and they couldn't get a drink to save their lives. And you were dressed up, looking good. She mistakenly thought you were the manager of the restaurant and went to you and said, "We've been here a half an hour and we haven't got a drink." And you said, "Oh, what would you like?" And she said, "A couple of beer." And you 5 minutes later showed up at the table with 2 beer. I said to myself, that is a savvy son of a bitch. And you had my vote since then.
Well, happily you didn't drink so much that you forgot it.
No, exactly. There have been occasions, but...
Listen, being a politician is about serving, so someone comes up and orders a beer, I deliver a beer. Well, I'm here to serve.
I like to hear that.
The problem is a lot of people misunderstand the org chart in politics.
Okay.
So they think that it's the population, then the member of parliament, and then the cabinet, and then the prime minister.
Yeah.
But it's actually upside down. It's the population on top, and they delegate to the member of parliament, and MPs must give confidence for a cabinet and a premier to exist. So actually the cabinet's at the bottom of the org chart and the people are on the top. That's the way it's supposed to work.
You're sounding way too idealistic to be a conservative.
It's the reality. Politician who's ever lost an election will tell you it's true.
Well, that's true. You haven't though. You knock on
whatever
glass,
the hell this
whatever
is.
that is. Yeah. You've done very well for yourself. Now, you've gone from being the young guy, okay, to now a seasoned like how many years? 17 years as a member of Parliament?
Last week was my 14th anniversary. 14th
anniversary. Well, I'm adding extra years to you, but
yeah, I'm not aging that quickly.
Okay, but 14 years. Yep. Okay, and now you're in probably the most important shadow cabinet role there is, which is finance critic. So what do you think of that?
Well, I agree with you that it is important because this government is so off track on its spending, and the bigger the problems on the governmental side, right, the more important the solutions are on the opposition side. So we're trying to provide some of those solutions.
Well, and you know what? I hope that you can. Right. Now, one of the things that we'd like to do on this show is a drinking game. No, I'm just kidding. What we like to do on the show is to get to know the person, though. Okay, right. As I said to you earlier, the Pierre with a song in his heart. And so this has been a whirlwind year for you, by the way.
It has. You
got married.
I did.
Okay. And by the way, I'm going to point out that she's way out of your league. I don't know how the hell you got her. Okay.
That's why I had to make the marriage very sudden and very quick.
Absolutely.
To lock it in while I had the chance.
And now I understand that you are an expectant father.
I am, yes.
Well, congratulations to that. This was not public knowledge, I don't believe.
No, we're breaking the news right here.
It's a first, ladies and gentlemen, right here, right now. Now that's I'm actually incredibly impressed with how quickly you get the job done.
That's right.
And so, if there is ever an indication,
people have been doing a lot of math around the date of my wedding and all of that. I can tell you that
I don't even care.
You don't need to care. And listen, people are asking, is it a boy? Is it a girl? And I'm telling them, I don't care about any of that. As long as the child is a good conservative, I will love that baby forever.
Absolutely. And well, you know what? And I felt the same way when my kids were born. I just didn't want them to be ugly. That was the important thing. You know what I mean? Because I lived with that burden my whole life, and it's not an easy one. So if it's a little Pierre or a little Pierrette, what would you, as somebody in a position who can orchestrate legislative change, what would you like to see for them in the future?
Less debt. I mean, the kid's born with $20,000 roughly of debt automatically stacked on its shoulders because the government's borrowing so much. So spend what we have only on what we need and don't borrow to pay the bills.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And that's why this is such a low-budget production.
It's a very fiscally conservative production.
It is a fiscally conservative production. I had somebody tell me the other night, we were at the tractor pull, and he says to me, he says, well, you're liberal. And I think he said, you seem like a liberal. And I think he was confusing small L liberal with the Liberal Party.
Right.
You know, my political affiliation being what it is, I vote for my constituent representative. I have to agree with the policies of that party,
right.
But you know what, so if you were a complete screw up and were still conservative, I wouldn't vote for you. But because you're not, I do vote for you.
Thank you very much. Well, I'll try to avoid becoming that screw up that you don't want to vote for.
So what's on your agenda this? I know we're on you know, on break, but in the next session, what do you hope to accomplish outside of just being a critic?
Right. Well, I hope to provide some alternatives. I'll give you a few very quick examples. I think we need to do more to make work pay. Right now, people are punished for working. You know, for example, if you're a person on disability, you get a job, they claw back all of your income and your housing and your other benefits, and that basically bans people on disability from ever getting a job and ever getting ahead. So I've been advancing a bill called the Opportunity for Workers with Disabilities Act that ensures that people always keep more of their wages than they lose to clawbacks and taxes, so that people are rewarded for working hard.
Well, you know what, and that's something that we need. And I'm gonna say, I'm not generally not a political type person, but I'm gonna say this. When a lot of people came to this, and we love immigration because it helps grow our population, and this country was built on that. But a lot of people came and had nothing. They came over with $1 in their pocket and lived in their brother's basement, and then earned enough money to bring somebody else over, and they worked, and there was no social net at the time, and it forced people to work hard. And there's a lot of criticism out there now that there's too much of a social net. Now, I know that's a charged question to ask you, but what do you think? Do you think there's too much of a social net right now that deters people from working hard when they are either newly arrived or living on welfare? And I know that's not really a federal issue, but
I wouldn't say that's necessarily the problem. I think the bigger problem is that the government is trying to exercise too much control over and exercising it in the wrong way. So, for example, I think we should have faster and more immigration for people who have skills and job offers. Yes. So if you have a skill and you have a job offer by a Canadian employer who can't find someone here in Canada, we should bring you over here really quickly to fill that job and contribute in that way. I've dealt with people who are master electricians, very high level of skill, who are capable of earning 6 figures, but they can't get here and get a work permit. And so for that person needs to come here faster. And when it comes to refugees, I think we need more community sponsorship of refugees, because then you have a support network when you come to a community, and put the emphasis on that. The government right now has put all the emphasis on government-sponsored refugees who are proven statistically to be less successful, because the government can't deliver what a community can.
You're absolutely right, and I think that's very well put. You should be a politician, for crying out loud. You've got that way of getting things done.
I'll have to think about that.
Yeah. So I'm going to leave you with one final question, because I know you got to get going, and you spent the day here, and you were in a number of places within the constituency today, representing yourself. You're a tireless worker. Now, do you ever get a chance to go home and Netflix and chill? Apparently, you did once, but. Do you get a chance to Netflix and chill with the missus?
I wonder if she's watching right now. Well, listen, I actually, after I leave here, I'm going to her. She is, as I told you, roughly 6 months pregnant, so she couldn't be out in the heat with us today, but maybe in the future you'll get to meet her.
Absolutely. I would love to meet her. I've only seen pictures, and as I said, you know what?
That's right.
You're batting way out of your league.
I know. I remind myself of that every morning.
Well, you're a lucky man, and you know what? You've done a great job. I thank you both from the perspective as a constituent for the work that you've done, but also as a Canadian. I think that the noblest of professions is politics. It's a bloodbath, but if we didn't have people like you, we wouldn't have a government running. So I thank you for that, and I know I'm not blowing smoke. I'm actually meaning it.
Thanks very much for what you're doing.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Thanks a lot, Pierre.
Great to be with you.
That was Pierre Poilievre. Yeah, let me try that again. That was Pierre Poilievre. I'm Chris Hawes. This is Flatbed Tonight. Thanks for watching.